What's up, people? Happy Monday. Welcome back to another episode. Thank you so much for being here. And first and foremost, hope you are staying warm. I'm in Austin right now. I see on my computer screen 23 degrees Fahrenheit outside. It's cloudy. It actually snowed a little bit. There was a couple flurries flying around this morning when I was on my walk, and there was like some snow on the ground, which is wild. I'm sure most people from here, I'm from Pennsylvania, most people from here don't see snow like their entire lives. So it's crazy. I know there's a huge cold front going through pretty much the entire United States right now. So I hope you're staying warm, staying safe out there, and just excited to spend the next 20, 30 minutes with you guys talking to you about today's topic. And it's going to be on distractions. I got the idea for this podcast episode because we are 15 days into the new year right now. The other day was Quitter's Day. And I think that's the second Saturday of the year is now coined Quitter's Day. The reason being is that is when most people fall off from their goals, their resolutions for the year, and they stop doing what they told themselves, other people, their journal, that they were going to do all of 2024. They're going to achieve so many things, and then they just stop. There's no follow-up, there's no commitment, and you're back to where you were the year before, and the year before that, and the year before that. I mentioned last Monday, that it takes people 5 to 6 times to attempt to change their life before they make actual life-changing changes in their life, which is bizarre. So I hope you're not in that group. I hope you're staying true to yourself, staying true to your goals and resolutions, and going strong throughout 2024 so far. But I got this inspiration because I believe that a main reason why we don't achieve what we want to achieve is due to distractions. We set out with these grand ambitions, what we want to do, and we are limited either by our mind, society, the phone, social media, why we can't do these things. We are held back, we are limited, and we end up achieving nothing. So today I'm going to be talking about distractions. Again, if you didn't hear my first little spiel last Monday, these Monday episodes going forward, they're still going to be solo episodes, but they're going to be more research-based. That meaning I'm going to be looking into books, articles, PDFs, research, peer-reviewed articles, all of these different things to show you the cold hard facts behind success and anything that relates to success. So all this research that I did will be linked in the show notes. If you want to do some further dives, I believe I have 4 sources today that will go more in depth on the distractions and the whole topic of distractions. I'm going to be talking about digital distractions. I'm going to be talking about social distractions and personal distractions today. So again, if you want more insight into these topics, go down to the show notes, the episode description, and you will see the links for all of these different books and PDFs if you want to look more. They're all free to look at online. First and foremost, our favorite, digital distractions, something that we suffer with the most in society as the globe, honestly. I mean, it's not just the United States problem. The entire world is struggling from digital distractions. I want to start off by giving you an example. So I was looking at this research article, and they start off by talking about 2 different examples of why this has been so problematic around the world. So first, this woman was leading a group of 150 students. They were all broken up into teams, I believe 5 people per team. And it was called the Marshmallow Challenge. I'm sure you've done this at some point in your life, maybe in like middle school or high school, but it's designed for team building. And you break into groups, you're given spaghetti, you're given tape, string, and a marshmallow. And you had 18 minutes to now make the tallest, most sound structure possible compared to your peers with the marshmallow sitting on top, right? Building some tower, some grand thing that makes it sturdy enough to hold the weight of the marshmallow at the top. So at the beginning of this experiment, half of the group in the room, they immediately got to work. They're talking, they're collaborating, they're trying to figure out what is best to get their hands dirty and make this thing structurally sound. The other half of the group, they were silent. You know why? They pull out their phones. They start Googling. They start going on YouTube to find how can we win the Marshmallow Challenge. They had 18 minutes to do this challenge. 10 minutes into it, every single group that was using their phones, the devices went back into their pockets. Why? It didn't work. There was no evidence. There was no substitute for hard work. There was no substitute for thinking critically. There was no substitute for collaboration with your group. There was nothing on Google or YouTube that gave you the short secret to success to win this challenge. The people that got their hands dirty, they got immediately to work and they started collaborating with other people, failing, falling on their face, making the marshmallow fall on the table. They were the ones that were most successful, and they had the most time too. Another example, this same woman put a class through a research project. And in this case study, it was on a global coffee company, someone that has been serving customers around the world for a long time. And students, they started to do research on this coffee company. Very, very successful company. When they do their research, they bring the case study back to the professor. She was seeing an overwhelming trend that this coffee company was not successful. How could that be? They had so many markings of a successful company, their balance sheet looked good. Where was the disconnect here? So she goes on Google, types in the company, like business report or something. The first Google result was already misinformation. Why? Because the first result on Google was one that said that the company was not doing well in the United Kingdom. It had a down year in the UK. Just the UK. I mentioned this is a global coffee company. And that highlighted the potential pitfalls of this company. And all of a sudden, the students made this vast assumption that the company was not doing well, they were not successful, and that they would go bankrupt. Wow. If you just went to the next Google search, it would tell you how amazing the company was, how successful they were in different markets, what they were doing, their marketing, all of the things that would lead to you to assume that the company was doing great and they were a global force in this industry. But the students were, number one, too lazy to go to more information. And number two, they just didn't even think to know that there was an alternative message out there. I grew up with my parents and people around me always saying like, oh, it must be true, it's on the internet, kind of mocking the internet, mocking Google, mocking Instagram, YouTube, social media. And, at the time I was like, yeah, absolutely. The internet's right. It's the fastest way to get information out there. But as you get older, you mature, you realize that most people are putting information out there without proper research, or they're giving you one slice of the pie, or you, as the user, are not doing your take or your due diligence on finding what are the alternative options. What is the grand picture to the question that you're looking for? We live in a world now where, the generations, we talk about the millennials and Gen Z, we are living in the Google generation right now. And the Google generation, they unquestionably trust Google and ChatGPT for all answers. That's going to prompt a lot of concern with the impact on creativity in our society. There's no critical thinking. Think back to the Marshmallow challenge. Those groups did not think critically 1 second. The most critically they thought was, how can I search this on Google, the most effective way to give me the best results and find me a good video or good tutorial, right? This Google generation that we live in now shows so many negative consequences of information overload. There's a lot of difficulties in coping with the vast amount of data out there. If you go right now and you search anything on the internet, you can search your favorite clothing brand, you can search a question, you can search your favorite athlete, go to the bottom of Google. You'll scroll through 10 or 12 sources. And there's going to be a table at the bottom that says like page 1 through 20. All of a sudden, within split seconds, you were given 200 plus sources on one simple search. You're going to get thousands of images, thousands of articles, thousands of videos, all from one thing. No one is ever going to go through all of that. You are going to be overwhelmed and you're going to look at one source and claim that to be true and nothing else, right? No one has the time or the attention to go through every single source out there. The media is developing so much. Social media, the news stations, every single place we go to, we are infiltrated with phones, social media, laptops, TVs, news, radio. It's challenging for individuals, for companies to just take a deep breath, to get away from distractions. This results in a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, and we're not just expected, we're forced to keep up with these evolving digital trends in our modern society. It's either adapt or you die, basically. New jobs are undertaking different changes. You have to learn the software. You have to learn the new messaging platform that you're using. or else you're going to be fired. I think about just yesterday or 2 days ago, the NFL playoffs. Peacock, a streaming service that is trying to compete with the big dogs of Netflix and Hulu and all these different platforms. They paid $110 million to host the Dolphins Chiefs game. $110 million. Their streaming service is like $5 a month or $30 for the year, something super simple. But they paid so much, forcing people, if you want to watch this game, you have to sign up with us. You have to pay us your money, you have to learn a new software, learn a new platform, and we're going to overwhelm you with emails, with text messages, not to mention hundreds and thousands of TV shows and movies on our site right now and live television that we want you to watch all hours of the day. I mean, come on. We can't get away from it. All this technology, all this influence on us, it constantly interrupts us. You're going to have notifications all the time. All the time. I love the Do Not Disturb feature on phones because as much as I can, I try to filter out what's important, what's not. There's some things that, hey, this needs to be seen right now. There's other things like, hey, that can wait. And if you are constantly distracted by these notifications, because I will tell you what, no matter how disciplined you are, no matter how focused you are, if you are sitting down doing work and your phone is right next to you and you hear ding and someone texts you, you're going to look 100%. I don't care what you say right now, you're going to look at that phone. And if you don't respond to it right away, you're going to be thinking about it. How should I respond? When should I respond? What's the best thing to say? Should I send a GIF? Should I send a text? Should I send a voice message? Should I call them? All of a sudden, the work that you're doing is meaningless. You are so, out of focus on what you were working on. It's going to take so much time and effort to get back to that flow state. That is how digital distractions make things so challenging for us. As a society as a whole, our attention and the value of our attention has changed dramatically. We no longer have full attention, ever. You talk to someone, try talking to someone and they don't look at their phone or look at their watch or look at the TV behind you. It's impossible. Everyone is just seeking this attention from digital media. The value of attention is an all-time high. If you can find someone, a friend, a spouse, a coworker, that will give you like 10 minutes of uninterrupted conversation, that person's special. And it's crazy to say that because years and years ago, that was the norm. That was what was expected. If you didn't do that, you were rude, you were, not qualified to be working with that person, whatever. Today, it's just a commonplace. So it's wild to think that like the value of attention is at such an all-time high that if you can just give someone your undivided attention for even 60 seconds, you are so far ahead of so many other people. It's crazy. This all brings into effect multitasking as well. I've talked about in this podcast numerous times before that it's some 90-something% of people who claim that they can be multitasking. They claim that they're good at it, they're qualified, they have the skills to be multitaskers. Well, there are no more than like 10%. I forget the exact numbers. I need to go back and do my research, but there are very, very few people in our society that are able to multitask and able to do it properly. We all think we can, but nobody is really capable of doing it. Multitasking, I don't mean listen to a podcast while you're folding your laundry. That's not multitasking. Multitasking would be me recording this podcast, texting someone back, trying to watch TV next to me, and reading a book at the same time. Maybe not all those things at once. It only takes two things. So it would be recording this podcast and texting someone. Forget about it. I can't do that. And this has been started at such a young age for most people now. When you're a kid, you're expected to have so many different things going on. You are almost forced to be multitasking. It doesn't seem like a problem in the moment, but once you get into the habit of multitasking, you're going to be less effective. You're not going to be as focused, not as productive, and it actually leads to a lot of long-term consequences. This is going to raise the question about the effects on cognitive development and your behavior socially. I want to quote Stanford because they're a hell of a lot smarter than me. So rather than try to put it in my own words, I got this from a peer-researched article from Stanford. It says, a switch cost is a loss of accuracy or speed that comes when you shift between tasks. Though some of the costs of multitasking are subtle, they are by no means trivial. Too much multitasking can interfere with both working memory and long-term memory. research by Mandor and colleagues found that the heavier media multitasking is associated with attention lapse and forgetfulness. However, it's still not clear what's causing what. Some research has indicated that chronic everyday media multitasking is related to errors in our ability to hold and use information in our mind, which is the working memory, and our ability to retrieve information, which is the long-term memory, says Mandor. But he adds that more research is needed to determine the direction of causality. Still, whether you're less efficient because you're multitasking or you're multitasking because you're less efficient, why is it that to-do list taking so long? Multitasking doesn't really solve anything. That's a lot, but it's so simple. The bottom line is you're either less efficient because you're multitasking, okay? You can't be doing so many things at once, so you're not going to be putting out as much output as you should. Or you try to multitask because you're less efficient, because you don't have the proper skills to do deep work. You don't have the proper skills to be good at your job. So you start to multitask to make up for it. Those two are both miserable. It doesn't solve anything, and it's just covering up a inefficiency in your mind and your body. So let's stop multitasking. Let's get more focused. And the best way to do it is to remove digital distractions. So a lot of different stuff here about multitasking, about distractions in the digital age. I find it super interesting because we are so consumed. We are honestly addicted. I think the number one addiction in the world right now is to our phones. Imagine going a couple hours without your phone. You would be anxious, especially if you're not doing something. I could go on a hike right now. I could be out in nature, no headphones, no phone. I'm good. I get back. The first thing I want to do is check my phone, right? But if, let's say you're just at work, you're in the gym, you're doing something that's just day to day, you normally do it, you're not out in nature, you would be extremely anxious. And I would be very fascinated. This might be another separate episode to get deeper, what your brain looks like when you're without your phone. You're probably anxious, you're probably stressed because you want that dopamine hit of knowing what's going on, who's trying to contact you, and if not, you're worrying about what the hell's going on. So a lot to uncover there. I just want to give you a brief overview. And if you're interested in learning more about this topic, I did read a book last year that was fantastic, especially the first half of the book. I will advise that the second half of the book was very, very slow, very dense, very research-based. So if that's not something you're into, just fair warning. But it's called Stolen Focus. I believe Johanna, amazing about the distractions in our world right now, how that affects our focus. Highly recommended. I can link that in the show notes as well. But next, I want to go into social distractions. We've all been there. I want you to picture a goal you have and what socially can prevent you from achieving that goal. Right now, one of my goals is completing 75 hard. I've done this. It's my fourth time trying it, and hopefully this is my third time completing it. I'm on day 15 right now. So that would be a fifth of the way through, 20%. If I want to complete 75 hard, the distractions socially that would limit me from completing this would be a friend asking to go out and get a drink, a friend asking to go get fast food, committing to an event or a trip or something that I can't physically exercise the 45 minutes that I need to, 2 times a day. Those would be social distractions that pull me away from my goals. I want to preface this topic by saying that I'm not saying you should ever get rid of a social life. This has been a huge realization of mine, especially in the last 6 months. Moving away from home and finding a new community, my overall happiness, my overall success, I believe, even if it doesn't come instantly materially, peace of mind, production, has been an all-time high when I feel most in touch socially, with friends, with family, with my roommates, with other people, co-workers. That is when I feel most alive. So don't take any of this by saying you need to lock yourself in a room and not meet anyone, not talk to anyone, because that is furthest from the truth. I'm reading a book right now by Brendon Burchard. He's one of the top 5 performance coaches in the world. And in one of the chapters, he's talking about a underlying denominator between successful people is that they are social. They know how to interact with other people. They strive to interact with other people. You don't need to take days and days away from your work, but even a few things here and there will help you become more successful. So I just want to set the stage there. Have a social life. It's important for your success. It's important for your mental health. So many different things. But again, let's get into it. I want to talk about when you get a opportunity that poses itself, or a distraction that poses itself as an opportunity. You might always get someone that says like, hey, I see what you're doing. Super cool. Me personally, I get this a lot on LinkedIn. I am pretty active on LinkedIn. I show what I do with the sports agency, with my podcast, other things work related. I get a lot of messages almost on a daily basis that say, hey, I saw your profile. I see you're up to cool things. Can we get on a phone call next week? Half the time, or I would say 90% of the time, I don't even respond. And I don't respond to these to try to be mean. It's not my intent at all, because I used to be that person that I would, ask for something like that. And the crazy thing is, like, it feels good. Someone sends you a message that says, hey, I see you're crushing it. You get a sense of validation and you get a sense of acceptance, and you have like a motivational push to like go continue your efforts and be like, oh wow, I'm on the right track. At the same time, it is almost a distraction for you, and I'll get into it. These opportunities, they can be both rewarding, but they can also be challenging. Rewarding, like I said, oh, I'm on the right track, I'm doing good, someone is validating me. But it's challenging because that phone call takes away from your opportunity to do work. Will a 10-minute phone call really be detrimental to your production for the day? Absolutely not. It might even do more good. I don't know. Me personally, it's challenging because the more I say yes to things like that, the more I feel obligated to say yes to more things like that. And if I don't want to always take phone calls like that on a daily basis, 10, 15, 20 minutes, that's going to lead into more phone calls and someone asking for a job. If I don't have that capacity right now, I can't do that. I just won't accept it for one person or all of them, right? Acknowledgement of these opportunities is an important thing. Just be like, hey, I'm doing good. That's awesome. I really appreciate their well-spoken words and their kind words, but the size and the alignment with your goals should be considered, okay? When you're considering a distraction or an opportunity posed as a distraction, vice versa, how does that relate to your goals? How big is that in regards to your daily production? If you are trying to achieve something big and someone's always trying to pull you out to the bar on Friday night, that's going to take away your Friday night, that's going to take away your Saturday morning because you're going to be hungover, how does that relate to your goals? It's huge in size. That whole event from Friday night, start at 7 p.m. and wake up at 10 a.m. on Saturday, still a little bit hungover, so you're not going to start doing anything till 2 p.m. on on that Saturday. That's 19 hours out of your 168 for the week. Not to say you can't be doing stuff like that, but that is big in magnitude towards your overall week, your overall production, your overall goals. Also, is that in alignment? Is it in alignment with what you want to do, what you want to achieve? Is that something that's really important to you? And I get all of this information from a source. This man talks about why distractions exist, how to eliminate them to achieve your goals. This is written by a man named Greg Thomas. Again, this will be linked in the description for you guys. This is super important to me. If you can take control of your distractions, you're going to have so many tough decisions. You're going to have so many opportunities that you have to be selective with. You have to acknowledge the limitation of trying to do everything and emphasize the importance of what you need to do and be picky. It's tough. It's tough to say no. I get it. But sometimes that's what you have to do, especially if you're in a season of building, you want to become a better person. You need to understand that things need to be aligned with your goals. Choosing those opportunities that align with your personal and professional goals, that advocates for just being honest with yourself and making your decisions based on alignment rather than external pressures. You can't say yes just to make someone feel better about themselves. You should be saying yes or no because it feels right within your heart, within your gut, within your brain. You're gonna have uncomfortable feelings. I get it. And you need to acknowledge that those uncomfortable feelings will exist. They're gonna be associated with turning down opportunities. You might have frustration, you might have guilt, you might have FOMO. That's just part of the process. I think we've all been there. We've said no to something, we felt FOMO, we felt guilt. it happens. We can't say yes to everything. I saw a meme the other day. Someone was like, can you do this? Like, do you have time for this? And there was all these swords facing the person. It was like job, family life, side hustle, gym, nutrition. And it was like all these things that the person was prioritizing. They're just like, yep, I can do it. Like, we put way too much on our plate that we can't handle, or it just might not be important to us. Part of this comes with understanding yourself the best that you can. You need to understand that there's a need for introspection here and soul searching, if you want to put it that way, to determine your true aspirations in life. What are the things that are so important to you that are a hell yes or a hell no? And have the importance of knowing that I truly want to accomplish this. This is something that is truly meaningful and important to me. There are going to be so many times in life where you have an easy distraction as opposed to a difficult distraction. We've all been there where we get like super focused on something. The easy distraction will be, I'm going to delete apps on my phone. A couple of years ago, I was an avid user on Snapchat. I was like, man, what am I doing? Like, it's so unproductive. I'm not who I want to be. I just deleted the app. And it was so simple. I just said to every single person I was communicating with on the app, I was like, I'm deleting this. Goodbye. Love you. Peace. Cut the ties. Not to say I can't talk to those people. We could still text or call, whatever, if it's meaningful. But I deleted the app. It could be the same for a social media app. It could be the same for a news app. It could be the same for a game. Those are easy decisions. The difficult distractions are the ones that involve emotion, the ones that say no to someone, the one that say, hey, I can't attend that. Hey, I can't make the time for this. Hey, this is not important to me right now. If you have serious goals, you need serious commitment. Again, I preface this by saying, I'm not saying you should not have a social life. Quite the opposite. But things need to be in alignment. And you need to have serious commitment towards everything you are doing in life. If a social life is a serious goal of yours, have a serious commitment to it. Don't just float around doing not meaningful things. Pick one thing a day, or maybe 4 things in the week that you will do, that you will give serious commitment to. There's no distractions. You are going to dive in, meet as many new people as possible, make new connections. You're going to feel good about yourself. There's a lot of social distractions, especially if you have a social life, you have friends, you have a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, so many things, right? But this also comes down to how well do the people know you? If the people in your life know you as someone that is driven, that wants to succeed, they will understand. I shouldn't say understand. They will accept it. They might not understand the path you're on, but they will say, hey, I get it. You're this way. Maybe we can't get you to go out every single Friday, but we're still going to put it out there. If the people around you are supportive of that, and they will listen and they'll say, hey, like, I know you're on a different path. I know this is important to you. I know you have serious commitment towards your goals. Those are the right people to have around. If there are people that are going to put you down for saying no, that are going to call you names, they're going to ridicule you, all of those things, we've all been there. Those are not people you want in your life. You want people that are going to support you, that are going to listen to you, that are going to make you feel accepted, right? So if this is a difficult thing for you, number 1, become introspective and figure out what it is you truly want in life. What are the serious goals you have, and what commitments are you willing to make? And also, who are the people around you? Are they good people? Are they leeches? Are they draining your energy? Are they putting you down? Because those are 2 very serious things. The last thing I want to get into is personal distraction. This is kind of a combination of the both, digital distraction and social distraction. But personal distraction is just an overarching, I want to get something done, I just can't do it for whatever reason. Have you ever set a to-do list for the day, and as you're slowly making your way through it, you remember, let's say, a text that you forgot to respond to the day before, or maybe you got into an argument the day before and you really found that good response right now. Maybe you have the urge to take a nap, or even How much money would it make to take a hypothetical trip to Europe next month? I think we've all been there. I do all of these. I'm sure you can either relate to those or some rendition of them. But how are we ever supposed to get anything done if we're stuck in the cycle of I'm going to do this to-do list and then I can't get anything done? That is impossible. And you're going to feel so overwhelmed and nothing's ever going to get done. So I'm pulling this information from a book that says Find Your Focus Zone an effective new plan to defeat distraction and overload. And this author is talking about how she did a lot of studies on your focus zone and what focus really is and why it's important. She did a lot of research on elite athletes, and she learned that elite athletes, in order to stay focused, they faced two big challenges. Number one being long, boring hours of practice. Okay? Number two being high stakes and high pressure events. These two things are very hard to commit to, but it's something you have to embrace as an elite athlete. And she saw that the focus and production and the cognitive strategies that they need for these, elite production on the field or track, whatever you're doing as an athlete, shows a very upside down U curve. Picture a U and then flip it on its back. Okay, so now it's just a camel hump. When you are starting something, your focus is at an all-time low because you're not in a flow state, your brain waves are just not firing, maybe you're distracted, maybe you're stressed, you're anxious to start, boom, you're at the bottom. Once you get going with something, you're in the zone. Okay, if you're an athlete, this is when you're participating in your craft, you're training, you're lifting, you're running. If you're an entrepreneur, this is when you're doing the deep work on your business, you're in calls, you're in meetings, you're negotiating. If you are a podcaster, this is when you're actually recording, interviewing someone. You can imagine this for whatever industry you're in. When you are in the work, when you're in that flow state, you are at the top of the U, that upside down U. You are at your peak performance. You're getting a lot done. You're focused, you're doing a lot. And once the task is complete, you start to come down and you start to lose your focus. You start to understand, hey, I'm almost done. I'm going to start to think about Friday. I'm going to start to think about what I'm going to eat for dinner. Okay. And that's kind of okay because you already did a lot of meaningful work. So it's okay that distractions come in, your focus kind of goes out the window. But understand that once you're out of that flow state of meaningful work, your distraction starts to fade, or your distraction starts to come in your flow state and your focus starts to fade. Okay. Come into that other end of the upside down U. And I'm saying this to say that when we want to achieve something, this book really taught me that we need to, as soon as possible, get to the top of that upside down U as possible. Very, very quickly. I use the example of setting a to-do list. When you set a to-do list, I'm not a huge to-do list person, but if you are, or you have in your mind some framework of what you want to do for the day, write down everything, but then always put it in an order of importance of what needs to be done first. Either what needs to be done first, or what do I want to do the least? If you need to eat a frog, eat it first thing in the morning. Do the hard thing first, knock it out. When you do this, you're going to get deeper into that flow state. You're going to create momentum through the day and stay, deeper and longer in that upside down U. That's going to be the most effective way. You're not going to be thinking about that nap. You're not going to be thinking about that argument. You're not going to be thinking about dinner. You're just going to be getting work done. We've all had personal distractions. And a little key here, just to throw some personal experience in here, if you are still struggling to not be distracted personally, change your work environment. I work at my gym all the time now. My gym has a co-working space. I work there. I'm more focused because at home, especially when I'm recording this right now at home, my desk is right in front of my bed. I could easily just hop into bed. I got food downstairs. I'm comfortable. It puts you in a different environment. There's also something to say that if you are confined in one space with low ceilings, not a lot of light, like a bedroom or an office, you are less productive as compared to being in a library or a co-working space or nature, because your mind thinks much more abundantly when there's a lot more space around you. And you can also be inspired by other people doing work, because you can't really slack off. If everyone around you is working, everybody's in that flow state, it's hard to be the outlier that is just effing off. So that's going to do it for today. Again, all this research will be linked in the show notes in the episode description. If you want to check it out, I will also put that book down there so you can look at that. But that was a quick synopsis on digital distractions, social distractions, and personal distractions, how to overcome them, how to understand them, and try to be more productive. Again, the premise of this podcast is to give you some advice for 2024 because we just got past Quitter's Day. I don't want you guys to be a quitter this year. I don't want to be a quitter this year. I want to achieve all my goals that I set. I set pretty ambitious goals this year, and it's going to take pretty much daily attention and daily work to achieve. I'm sure you're the same way. So let's get after it. Let's throw as many distractions out the window as possible, be in alignment with our goals, be in alignment with what is meaningful to us, and just keep attacking. So again, happy Monday. I will see you guys all on Wednesday.